Hi guys.
Hi.
So today we are talking about AMWF. What is that? That's Asian Male White Female, which is us.
It is? Wait, what?
In case you didn't realize,
Yeah.
AMWF is Asian Male White Female. And normally when you see interracial couples that are Asian white, oftentimes you see Asian female white male. And you see less frequently us. For us, the AMWF dating experience wasn't really the core part of it. I grew up in Redondo Beach, California, which is at the time especially predominantly white area, upper middle class area. And while there were a number of Latinos, Hispanics at our school, it was still predominantly white, but there really weren't that many Asians and even fewer African Americans.
Were you the token Asian kid in your
I
class?
wasn't the token Asian, but there weren't a lot. It wasn't that common. So I just grew up dating mostly Caucasian, mostly white women. My first experience with an Asian community, I should say, was when I went to college. I spent 2 years at UC Santa Cruz. I grew up in a Japanese household. My mother was Japanese, came over from Japan. My father's from Hawaii. But the first time I really experienced the Asian community was when I went to college, when they had Asian clubs and organizations and things like that. Plus, I was fortunate to have been, we laugh about it,
The dorm?
the multicultural dorm at UC Santa Cruz, which was, interestingly enough, a dorm of ethnic minorities, which at the time seemed a little odd, but now I think might be looked even more critically, maybe, because basically it was a dorm with students of different diverse ethnic backgrounds, multiple Asian cultures, Vietnamese, Japanese, Chinese. The gay community was in that dorm too, as well as
European exchange students.
and European exchange students. They were
So basically anybody who didn't fit like the white, American white mold,
Right.
heterosexual mold, was in that dorm, right?
Right, which was interesting because it was multicultural. It certainly was multicultural, but they didn't mix it with, normal white American students at all. It was just everyone of different ethnic backgrounds. So in one ways it was multicultural. Another way, if you look back on it now, it seems like it might have almost been segregated, which is weird. But
Yeah.
it didn't feel like we were segregated at the time, but yeah, looking back on it, it was weird to have the dorm.
Well, the first time he ever told me about it, I thought it was one of the weirdest things I'd ever heard. Like I was just like, how is that a thing, and why did nobody complain or think it was weird?
It was a number of years ago. We didn't even think about it. At least I didn't think about it. Plus, again, coming from a household where we really didn't have, I didn't grow up in an Asian community. I grew up in a sort of a white, upper middle class suburb of Redondo Beach. So, while I did have, a few Asian friends and things, it was not the Asian community that I sort of discovered when I hit college. For me, the Asian male, white female thing was just a matter of sort of convenience, growing up in, and familiarity, which
Yeah.
growing up in sort of a white suburb. So that was just my experience with the AMWF dating scene.
Well, and then I grew up in Northern Virginia, just outside of D.C. It's also in a predominantly white, but also, there's plenty of minorities of all different types around. But I would say probably 98% of the guys that I've ever liked or been into or dated or whatever were white. I just happened to not marry a white guy. I think you're the second Asian guy in my entire life that I've ever been into.
Wait, who was the first? Just kidding.
Yeah, one way back. But yeah, it just happened to work out that way. I mean, I think, as far as personal preference, if you were to just look at my history and the stats, I think there would have been a lot higher chance that I would have ended up with a white guy than an Asian guy, but it just didn't work out that way.
Or it did work out this way. Being an Asian male, white female couple, and our experience, at least to me, it hasn't been a negative. people don't tend to point it out. And granted, we live in Los Angeles, which is a pretty diverse city, and you're from DC. So
There's a lot of diversity there.
Right, so at least I haven't noticed and I haven't felt any sort of racism or negativity towards our relationship. In terms of family even, I know when I first met your family, there was a little hesitation, even though I didn't have any sort of hard preconceived notions of what it would be like. But you never know, and so there was that little bit of hesitation. Just I wondered what they thought or what they would think when they met me, and I'm sure you set it up. He's not a white guy.
I think it probably came up in conversation.
Right, it probably came up. So
But,
I knew it wouldn't be like a complete shock. So I went into it with a little hesitation, but the unknowing turned out to be sort of unfounded and unnecessary because her family was accepting and very warm and friendly.
And I had no trepidation whatsoever about him meeting my family. I knew they would be perfectly accepting as long as, any guy that was a nice guy, that treated me well, that was, just an upstanding member of society, they would not have a problem with him, with whatever race he was. So, that was a non-issue. And even, I know you also had some, because my family came out to LA to visit us, so you met them after a few months after we got together. And then we went back for Christmas, and we'd already been together for a couple of years at that point when you first came back with me to DC for Christmas to meet all my extended family. And you were kind of stressed out about that too. But as far as him being Japanese, like nobody blinked an eye at it. And even my grandparents, the oldest generation, they couldn't care less. They, again, just a nice guy. He was nice. You fixed my grandma's computer.
Right.
My grandmother got for her 80th birthday, I think it was, got a laptop and was getting it all fixed up, and there was some glitch. There was something where nobody could figure out what to do with it. He just sat there for about 3 hours on their sofa and was determined to make it work, and he totally got her laptop going. And so I think they especially loved you after that. but so meeting my family was a non-issue. And actually, now that I think about it, in my family, I've had a couple cousins on both sides of the family that I don't even think know each other at all, who dated. My one cousin dated an Asian guy for a while. My other cousin was engaged to a half Japanese woman. It's not actually all that different in my family. And living in LA, everybody is, not that there's not racism in LA, there's racism everywhere, but I truly can't think of a time being here that we've faced it. I'm not just saying that just to seem flippant about it. I truly can't think of a time being here. And when we first got together, actually, several of my friends just happened to be in interracial relationships themselves, just people that I knew in different aspects of my life, people that didn't know each other. It wasn't like, hey guys, let's all go do this together. It just worked out that way. So, even when we first got together, nobody batted an eye, nobody cared. And I'll say there's been a few times where we've met people and I've introduced Kevin as my boyfriend, fiance, husband, whatever it was at the time, and they seemed a little surprised. It was just like, oh, this is your boyfriend. Oh, okay. Just not expecting, seeing us together out in public. They're just, there wasn't that automatic assumption that, we would be together the way, if there was a white guy standing next to me, they would think, oh, maybe they're together. Whereas, who's this weirdo hanging around here? But again, certainly no hostility or any sort of negative feeling, just a little surprise, oh, I didn't know that you guys were together.
I don't think I've really experienced that much on my side from my friends when they met you. Mm-hmm. Although maybe they're just better at hiding it, I don't know. We
feel pretty lucky that we haven't really had to deal with that too much in our lives. That we just, have families that are accepting and they don't see color. But truly though, it's I think on both sides it was just, as long as, whoever we were with was, a good person, that it didn't matter, what race they were. I think we've definitely both heard stories about people who have not had as easy a time of it, I guess as we have. But so we just sort of lucked out in that respect.
Yeah, and I think that we see today a lot more interracial relationships of all kinds, and I think that the more it permeates society, the more it becomes commonplace. I think the fewer and fewer looks and even just assumptions of, oh, your boyfriend or husband or whatever is Asian, or they're white or whatever the background they come from. Those will start to dissipate because people will have less preconceived notions of not necessarily who you should be dating, but
just who people naturally gravitate towards. Well, I think even literally in the past about 6 months, I started noticing on TV commercials, just thrown in there. And there was there was a lot of controversy around it, but now you just kind of you see it. Once I started noticing, I tend to pay more attention now just to see it's a kind of an interesting. I don't want to call it a trend necessarily. I just want to say it's a just way that things are going a little bit. So.
Right. But if you have an AMWF or even just an interracial
any
relationship,
story.
Yeah, stories about that. We'd love to hear those because ours has been
kind of boring actually. Not that we're looking for drama or anything, but
ours has been fairly tame.
So if you have an experience you want to share, just leave it in the comments, and we'd love to hear from you.
AMWF interracial relationship, just a relationship in general.
Yeah, just anything.
Or lack thereof.
That's a whole nother set of comments there.
Not that we're judging.
So.
Plenty of fish in the sea.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. We'll see you next time. Or when are we saying? We'll see you next time.
On our next episode. So.
Why would you do that?
So you just say
No, it's done.
So that's it. Please like and subscribe.
Bye.
Bye.